business over 35 years ago. A lot has changed over the years, but one thing still remains the same.
Our passion for fixing cars. With a team of over 12 men and women, they work day in and day out to provide us the best quality service possible.
From light and heavy duty vehicle repairs and maintenance work,
diagnostics and racing transmissions,
performance parts and Jeep upgrades,
automotive detailing,
used car sales,
and towing through our sister company, AC Towing.
Our team has the knowledge and understanding to solve all your vehicle needs while putting your mind at ease.
Experience the Ogilvy difference.
It's worth the drive.
Hello and welcome back to the Bracket Life broadcast. Once again, Canada's drag racing show. Brandon here, as always, joined by my good friend Andrew Stark.
Good day. Well, glad to be back. I missed the last one there. I apologize, but it feels like it's been forever. But here we are, back in the driver's seat.
It does. I was sitting here at the desk and getting everything set up, and I'm like, "Holy freak! When was the last time we did this?"
I know, right?
Feels like it's been forever ago. But
it was.
Yeah, it's been a lot going on though. We've got a lot of action for February and March, right? You know.
Well, that's the thing, right? At least they've gone by quickly, and with the nice weather we're starting to get here, it's really starting to amp up and get exciting. Feel like racing season's just around the corner, right?
Absolutely. That trip to Florida in the middle for the two of us was nice. Yeah. That warm weather was, really gave a spark to it. And then the weather's been not bad outside either, so that's been all right. We're getting there. Before we officially dive into the show, I wanted to start by thanking tonight's sponsor, Ogilvy's Auto and Fleet Service, Ogilvy Motorsports. That's the shirt. I wear my Ogilvy's Auto shirt every day at work, so we mixed up with the Motorsports one tonight. So located in Jasper, Ontario, we can not only fix all your light and heavy duty vehicles, also a dealer for FTI Performance, Jones Transmission Pumps, K&R Performance Engineering, Portatree, Race Star Wheels. Visit the website ogilvysauto.com for more information. Any racing part, accessory, whatever you want to call it, we can get it. We can get you set up. We'll figure it out. Need help getting something installed, whatever questions you have, give us a call. Send us a message. You can reach us, obviously, Ogilvy's Auto and Fleet Service on Facebook, on the website. Send an email. Message us here on Bracket Life. Message me personally, or anybody else in the family if you happen to know them. So, yeah, lots of accessibility to reaching us. Or if you run into us at the racetrack, right? It's hard to miss when the Ogilvy truck rolls in.
Oh, there's a whole fleet there, right? So
yeah, exactly. Just when you start walking and tripping over dragsters,
yep,
that's usually where we're parked.
That's the right spot.
It's usually our cars, but absolutely. And then if you are tuning in live, make sure to let us know you are hanging out and here tonight. Mike Doe is always on there, letting us know they're here. Loyal listener on that one. So yeah, we'll jump in. Canadian Countdown. I'd like to think. Or I was thinking a little bit before this, like, not much gone on. Like, we had a couple races, but we're going to stack.
There is a stack
here for the countdown.
That's it. There was a lot going on in the world over the last few weeks. NHRA season kicking off, World Series of Pro Mod, just a plethora of stuff all over the place happening there. But I guess the first one we can kick off with, Motorama, Motorsports Custom Car Motorsports Expo was this past weekend. We did the Night of Champions, had a great turnout. I think 50-plus drag racing champions from all over Ontario and Quebec, as far away as Quebec. Lustville champions making their way down. We had, it turned out to be great. It was a huge show in the sense of people showing up. I took that as a real big positive. I'm hoping this is something that this summer, we're transitioning to the summer with great participation and numbers showing up for people, because it took about 2.5 hours to get into the show, it seemed like, and great motorsports turnout there. So should be good. Lots of big companies there. From there, I guess you want to hit on Mission, bunch of racetrack updates going on.
Absolutely. More of a Western Canada update for this, but Mission Raceway, Dragway, is hitting a new track surface as we speak.
Yep.
I believe Kurt Johnson, I think that's who they're using. Either way.
I think so.
Yes, down there getting all that stuff set up. So new racing surface going on in Mission. I just got an update as well today. Saskatchewan International Raceway getting a new surface, hopefully in April. I believe I was also told they just got give or take a foot, 2 feet of snow. So that'll alter the plans for that a little bit, and it might have some impact on it. But it is a go ahead, and they are. The plan is to have a new track service there for the 2024 season. So that's really cool. Great to hear. More Canadian drag strips investing in their track surfaces.
Absolutely.
Which, as we all know, that's a huge expense, right? You want to go to, you just want to pave something, huge one. So then whether they're paving it or putting concrete down or whatever it is that they're actually doing, right? Huge expense. Great for those facilities to be investing back into the the track surface, which is the core of all drag racing, right? That goes on,
Absolutely.
So that's excellent, awesome good news to hear. We kind of heard some rumors about it, and the TMP is actually getting some updates as well. That's been confirmed.
Yep.
They had a post last week on that. So that's 3 tracks for 2024 that will have new surfaces. Now TMP, I don't think is the whole.
No, they're sectional repairs, I think, from somewhere around the 8th mile on. But my understanding is the concrete's been cut on that as well, and they're prepping possibly in the next few weeks to start laying down some concrete there as well to fix it up. So they're looking to go back to quarter mile capabilities with some of their big shows and other bracket series. I think actually they might be the only bracket series left in Ontario going to go the full length quarter mile setup. So,
absolutely.
But big upgrades there. I mean, and these are 6-figure digits when you look at a lot of these type upgrades, right? These are large ticket items. As much as it's a flat piece of ground that gets milled a little bit, this is one of the largest ones. So to see 3 Canadian tracks across the nation going after it, that's big news. So
absolutely huge. So we have some results now. I don't always say some. We have a boatload of results here. We'll start off Wyatt Rankin. The boys from Nova Scotia, Wyatt and John, they head down to the Loose Rocker event at Galat in a truck. Wyatt's never drove before. I believe got a time hit in it and dove into round 1. Maybe got 2 shots, but I'm not really sure. But did that, and then I know weather had impacted a couple of the races, or at least one of the days, I believe. So, but Sunday made it 4 rounds in a pickup truck that he's never raced before, and had a pretty aggressive strategy as well. If you saw the post that Wyatt was making, I was talking to him a little bit during the weekend, and he was pretty aggressive, stuck on it, did very well. So that was cool. Awesome to see those boys getting all around, and who knows where the rankings will end up next, right? They seem to be getting all over the place.
They're traveling, right? They're heading down, finding the racetracks that are open and finding rides to get to the track. So great to see. Watch some of the truck videos. I was going to say in-car, but that would be inaccurate. From some of the runs he was making. So that's always fun to see, right? To get the in-car view of it all. But good for them, and we'll see. They've already got their season running, so a little bit of jealousy on that end of it, to be quite frank.
I very much agree. I hope mine doesn't take too much longer to get going. But Andrew, while you and I were in Florida, we were actually getting ready to fly home, and we flew home during the eliminations. The World Series of Pro Mod was going on.
Yes.
There's a lot of insight here. I'll let you
we'll roll through it.
Around that. It was pretty exciting.
There was a lot of Canadian content on this one. So we'll kind of work from one end to the other. To kick off with Pro Modified, World Series of Pro Modified. We'd be remiss if we didn't start there. 65 total pro mods invited to that one, 32 car field. We had 5 Canadians shooting to get in. Defending event champion Spencer Hyde, Scotty Wildgust from the Smokies Garage team, Eric Latino, Pale Just, and Kenny Lang were all the contestants from Canada. Spencer would make it in. A little less drama this year than last year with getting in on the last shot on the last day in the last spot. He gets in at number 6 with a 362.7, which was quite remarkable to think that that's only good for number 6. Mind you, I think number 1 was only about 300s ahead of that. So tight field. Scotty Wildgust rolling in, got into the number 14 spot at 363.6. So only about 9
a lot of 6s.
There's a lot of 3s and a lot of 6s here. So lot of spots back, but only about 9th. Kenny Lang would get into the number 27 spot, 365.6. Unfortunately, Paolo would miss the bump. Bump was 366.4. He got in at 38 with a 367.1. Eric Latino's 50th with a 370 with a 9.
That's wild.
Yeah, like you're almost to 69 and you're still you're not even looking at the bump. It's not even that close over the horizon. Kenny and Scotty would bout in round 1, unfortunately. I believe Tire Shake got both of them. Spencer would charge into round 2 before he'd run into eventual event runner-up Jim Halsey, who put the champ on the trailer and end his run. But great event from the Pro Mod side of things. Great qualifying. Pro Mod champs. The Pro Mod racers did fantastic, and the champ did a great job. Outlaw 10-5 had a couple Canadians. We had 16 car field, 24 invites went out. Nick Agostino got back up and running, had a nasty crash at the end of last year, did a lot of damage to his 68. No testing, heads to Florida, comes off the trailer for the limited amount of runs to get before the World Series and figures it out pretty quick. Lands in the number 7 spot with a 401 with a 4. He's only about 700s behind the number 1 qualifier, which was Ron Green at 394.4. Grimsby, Ontario's Mero Haringi, and I think I got that right. I just stretch it a little bit on that one. Fairly new to the 10-5 world, gets the invite to go down. Team made consistent strides all week. They were sneaking up on it. Unfortunately, they miss getting into the field. They go 437.5 at 191, bump in 411 with an 8. Nick would rattle in round 1. It was kind of the story of round 1 on Sunday was you needed to get down the track. And just about every one of the fast door car classes, that was a bit of a struggle. If you could make the ride, you were probably going to make it to round 2. Mountain Motor Pro Stock also had a Canadian, Tony the Barber Pontieri. I don't know where that nickname comes from. It's just the only name I've ever heard used for him in all the years. They've raced back in the 80s with my dad. Tony being a standout pro modified driver for many years. I think he finished number 2 in the world in NHRA, has run quite a bit of Mountain Motor Pro Stock. He's got a Mountain Motor again. He gets the invite to go down, falls into the number 10 spot, 411 with a 9. I shouldn't say falls in, made some great runs. Started off strong, was picking up every pass. Pole position was 406 with an 0 by Bo Butner. Unfortunately, like some others, Tire Shake, round 1, catches him. So unfortunately, he doesn't make it through. Top Sportsman, Wes Goddard. So if you've not heard us talk about Wes at least a little bit, he is somewhat of the behind-the-scenes star of the Spencer Hyde story from last year. Wes was on the crew with Spencer and was one of the guys that helped get Spencer's car ready for round 1 after they had a chassis issue in the final qualifying run. Wes gets the opportunity to go down to the World Series of Pro Mod and Top Sportsman this year. And if you've never seen his car, I think we've talked about it. I might even show it on here. It's a 58 Nash Metropolitan. And if you don't know what that is, get on Google and check that out and tell me that that should be a race car. But Wes has managed to make that a race car, and a pretty badass one, if I'd say so myself, twin turbo setup. Unfortunately for Wes, they run career bests at 426 with a 6, made great laps every time, and just missed getting into the stout field at 420 with a 3 being the bump spot. However, not to be outdone by the rest of the Canadian contingent, manages to get into the final round of the, I'm not sure what the alternate race is for Top Sportsman. There was a name for it. Loses in the final round there, but great job to the team. They made a lot of strides to go from having a car that they made a lot of changes to try to get this thing stepped up, to get it down there, and made great passes all through testing, stepped it up all through eliminations, made some career best runs to get into it. Was a very quick field for Top Sportsman. And World Series of Pro Mod, another great event in the books. West Buck Drag Illustrated just knocking it out of the park again, only a couple weeks after their pro shootout race. So it was a great event for those who went down. A ton of Canadians. I was getting messages from everyone. Saw the videos and pictures of us in Orlando and said, you haven't coming down to Bradenton. And I think half of Canada was in Bradenton, if I read my messages correct.
That's how it felt, definitely. And like it, same deal. Got a lot of invitations to come over and hang out for the day or so, but didn't end up making it.
No.
Had some other things planned, which was fine. And I had a lot of fun though. I'm glad. I wish I would have been able to get over. It would have been really cool, but maybe next year. We'll
Well,
see.
that's it. The event shifts next year to one of those deals. I think it's Thursday to Saturday. So just got to find a Saturday to get down there, right? The Spirit flights out of Buffalo. Cheap as cheap can be.
That's what I've heard. We got some NHRA Division 7. We had a double header. We got some results there. Top Sportsman, race number 2. Mike Lucas from Fort St. John, BC, takes 68 Camaro to the finals, where he would take home the NHRA Wally by 1/1000th of a second, with being 18 on the tree and 2 above to beat David Cook in the final round. So pretty cool deal. Congratulations to Mike on that one. And Top Alcohol Dragster. Also, pretty hot start for Sean Cowie, as I don't think anybody here is really surprised by that, taking the number 1 qualifying spot with a 5:18, and would head down to the final round there, where he unfortunately did not make it all the way down the track in a smooth fashion. I guess 5:98, still flying, right?
Yeah,
But no good in that one. So congratulations to Sean Cowie. Going to be 2024, going to be another ridiculous year, I'm sure, for the Cowie team, right? Normally is. Andrew, do you want to walk us through the Gatornationals and the Baby Gators? I know it's a lot, right? But
can do. There was a lot going on there too. So back to NHRA, the Canadian contingent really was strong at both coasts. So the Baby Gators the weekend before the Gators. Stock eliminator William Kelly, Long Point, New Brunswick, qualified number 2 in stock out of 118 cars, goes 1.21 under. So that's 12.0 index, gigantic numbers. Like, if there wasn't some factoring on Monday. I'm shocked by that. But fortunately, Kelly would bow out in round 2. Dave Turner, my buddy from across town, from Schaumburg, Ontario, makes his way down. Qualifies number 59. Dave also made it to round 2, unfortunately bowing out. Super stock. The living legend, Chuck Nagy, GTG Automatic 2005 Cavalier, wins class at the Baby Gators. Big victory for them. That is always a tough place. There was a great contingent of cars down there. Great to see Chuck with a fairly new car. This was something that he's put together, I believe, shook it down the end of last year. And to be able to win class and get that performance trophy on the shelf, great to see. Top Dragster, Todd Chase, Pine Glen, New Brunswick. I can't tell you where that is in New Brunswick, but I just know it's in New Brunswick. At least that's what NHRA tells me. He'd get into a very tight top dragster field. 695.7 gets in 28th, just ahead of the 710 bump at 32. Unfortunately, in round 1, red light ends Todd's chase for a Baby Gator win. Top alcohol funny car, Stan Sipos from Victoria, BC. That one was a bit of a surprise to see a BC racer all the way out on the East Coast. But 2023 Camaro gets to the number 2 spot, 5:55 with a 4, but unfortunately in round 1 isn't able to make the ride. Doesn't show up, I should say. And top alcohol dragster, 2 Canadians battling for the 8-car field. Battle of the Jeffs, Jeff Veal, Jeff Chatterson, both try to get in. A lot of messed up rain, very difficult race where they kept calling. I think they called top alcohol to the lanes 3 times over 2 days, and all 3 times it rained when they called them. And when they finally called them for the 4th time, they asked them politely to just leave the rain back where they left it. But unfortunately for the Jeffs, number 9 and number 10 in 8-car fields, 541 with a 3 for Chatterson, spells a DNQ, and Veal 542 with a 9. However, there is some retribution to come up here later on for at least one of those 2 as we get into the big Gators. Top Fuel, I'll let you wheel this one because this one has the company name on it. So I think that's well-deserving for you to chime in here.
Absolutely, it does. Cody Crone wheeling the Paris, Ontario-based Peyton Top Fueled Dragster rolled out. My in-laws, Mike and Vic, were down there hanging out with the team. Obviously, had the Ogilvies on the side of that. Always a cool deal. Really exciting to be a part of that, and to support one of the only possibly the only touring NHRA Top Fuel dragster right now. So cool deal. Cody Crone. I talked to Mike about it. He actually just got home from the Gators earlier, just before we did the show. So Cody, apparently really cool kid.
Yeah.
Right. Great people. Really neat hanging out with them, and hopefully a lot of big things for Cody and the Peyton team on the horizon. We'll see. I think they have. I don't quote me on this. I believe there's like 7 or 8 events that they plan on hitting. So it should be a cool deal. They were only able to get that car to go 385 only. 385, you know what I'm saying? But qualified on the bump there. Unfortunately, that, being number 16 qualifier, that means you run number 1. Sean Langdon had a massive hit during qualifying there, like laid it down to be number 1. Ends up winning the event, going through Cody Cronin round 1. So too bad on that, but great showing, great, good for them to start out and be there.
Yep.
And big things to come, hopefully, for that Peyton fuel car team with Cody behind the wheel.
Absolutely. Good showing. And side note to that was actually Cody was the runner-up in Top Alcohol Dragster last year at the Gators. So certainly a track that was very comfortable with, right? But
that's the home track, I believe. I saw him. He was posted on Facebook before. So home spot for them is Gainesville.
So that should have been a comfortable track. So, but good showing. Good to see them come off the trailer. Great to see that Canadian content down there. And this was a big Canadian event too, in the sense of like a lot of pro classes, a lot of sportsman classes. Pro stock. This one we chatted about a little bit at the car show this weekend. So I'd be curious to see that Sienna Wildgust makes her pro stock debut. We've had her on the show. We were talking to her, I believe, back in the summer, if not fall. I'm trying to remember when it was. But the Smokies Garage backed KB Titan pro stock team making their debut, 17 years old. One of, I want to say, maybe only a couple Canadians in the last 20 years to take a shot at trying to get into an NHRA pro stock field. Mark Martino being the last that I can think of. She would make 3 great runs. They'd have rain shorten up the qualifying, unfortunately. Comes off the trailer in her first NHRA pass to a 666 and was in the field for a little while through all this, but ends up 20th, 662.1, misses the bump, which is 659.2. So right there, I'm sure they had something locked and loaded for that final qualifier, and who knows, but they're going to go to the next race, which I believe is in Pomona. So it's exciting for her. Great start. She did us all very proud. Make solid passes. She was on the tree in qualifying, made spectacular hits. So I think a lot of confidence building on their end there for that to transition to the next race. We'll move to Pro Modified, where Sienna's dad, Scotty, brings out the NHRA Pro Modified. So we've got their Outlaw 8th Mile PDRA style car, and they have their NHRA legal Pro Modified. Debuted it at the Gatornationals. Scotty bumps into the field at the 16 spot, 581.2. They don't ask you how you got in; you just got to be there in the field for to dance on Sunday. BC native Justin Bond, perennial world champion contender. He gets his 68 Camaro actually in at number 3 spot with a 570 with 3. Unfortunately, in round 1, Scotty rattles the tires. Justin would bow out in round 2 on a good race. Top Alcohol Dragster. So here is the Avenge story from the Baby Gators. Jeff Veal would take his DNQ, turn it around big time. He would barely squeak into the field. So he gets into the number 16 spot. Again, they don't ask you what spot you get in. You just got to be in on race day. 547.7 gets him in. And he would power his way all the way to the final rounds. I caught the final round. I didn't get a chance to watch much of this all on Sunday. I caught the review of it all. Unfortunately, comes up short to Joe Maynard. Great race, only 39 thousandths behind. I think he was coming with mile an hour too. So just needed maybe 1,350 feet to get this done. Might have gone 1,350 feet to try to get this done.
Yeah.
But, great showing from the Veal team. I believe they're out of St. Catharines or Hamilton area. Hamilton, I believe. But awesome job. Stan Sipos, Top Alcohol Funny Car, BC native there. Gets the car turned around for the Gators. Gets in at number 6. Unfortunately, goes down to Bob McCosh in round 1. Another perennial hitter, Bob McCosh, in Top Alcohol Funny Car. One of the better matchups in round 1. It was kind of one of those round 1 alcohol matchups where I think if Stan gets almost any other pairing in that round, he's probably going to round 2. But against McCosh, doesn't get that luxury. In Factory Stock Showdown, this is one of the coolest stories, I think, out of the Gators. So Smokies Garage team owner, Mono, Ontario native, Mike Clark, they've picked up a Factory Stock Showdown Challenger, and to my knowledge, did not have a lot of testing time with it. And they come out, and in a class full of really great racers who've had a lot of years of refinement, managed to come out and take the number one position, 782, first race of the year. Mike powers through round one. Unfortunately, in round two, cars, these are difficult cars. These are cars that are foot brake setups, and you are hitting the gas, trying to hold line locks and two steps. And I believe the car crept through the beams. Unfortunately, that was it for him in round two. But very promising start. When you're out qualifying some of the world champs and some of the perennial hitters in this class, and you do that in race one, certainly something to watch for that Smokey's Garage team, who have cars running in pro stock, cars running in pro modified, and apparently some very bad cars in factory stock showdown. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go through the year.
Absolutely. It's a lot going on, right? Everybody, it seems, from coast to coast in Canada likes to start their season in Florida. Not a bad deal, I guess.
I kind of understand it, having been to Florida in this time of year. I get the draw to it. So
absolutely. Now, then again, there can be some racing here. I believe Naperville Dragway was open last weekend for drag and drift. Now, there was no track prep or nothing like that, and just no prep time runs and whatnot. But yeah, that's what kind of weather we've been having. So we can't complain too much, I guess.
No, not at all. We're getting close.
For sure. So the big events coming up for Canadians that I'm really personally excited for is the Spring Fling Million, obviously a marquee event of the year.
Yeah,
really starts the big money bracket racing scene off. I know there are a bunch of events that are happening right now and everything like that, but the Fling Million, the first major event.
Yeah.
And I know we have a boatload of racers getting ready for that. There was some races, bracket race in Tucson.
Yes.
Last weekend, I did not see any results from that. If there was some major ones, we definitely would have heard about it.
I feel like
a lot of people down there shaking it down, right? It's been a long enough winter, so, and that's a long haul from anywhere.
Wow.
In Canada, so cool deal for a bunch of racers to head down there, shake it down. A bunch of them are headed back to Vegas, so that, like I said, as always, that'll be really neat to watch and see, and hopefully we have a big winner. Be a cool
that
deal.
Would be awesome, right? We have another kickoff to the year like we did last year with Spencer picking up a W and then Matt Costable picking up a W not long later. It's like we were a little bit spoiled the way 2023 started, and
that's right.
2024 looks promising at the very least, but the Spring Fling, that'd be a place to put Canada on the map if someone was able to do that. So
exactly. If anybody's listening and paying attention, right? Last year we were calling it. Somebody wins at the Fling Million, we'll have you on here, right? I know it's not the biggest award, but we'll have you on to talk about it. That'll be cool.
We will do the special podcast the very next Tuesday, no question.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you won the million itself, that's even better. But we'll take any of the victories, right? We're not picky.
We'll go live that night. If you're take the million, if you're willing to pick the phone up, we'll just start a broadcast.
That's it. Exactly.
That'd
be a cool deal. So, Andrew, we don't really have a whole, like many other, or a specific topic for tonight. We're just kind of leaving it open to wherever the conversation comes to. We didn't really get a chance. You and I haven't got a chance to talk much about the NHRA deal from, Frank, I guess it was almost a month ago now.
It was about a month ago,
when I had that interview and we talked about the National Open Series. Yep. So, a bunch's gone. We don't really have anything specific. We'll start it off talking about kind of our 2024 schedule, where we'd like to head, whether it actually happens or not, right? That all changes in time, as we know. That's how it rolls. But Andrew, where are you looking to head to this year, and what are some highlights of your schedule to this point?
So we kind of got, I want to say Ted Barnes and I, who've been doing traveling around. So the BS tour is gearing up for another crack at it. We've kind of got the first half, I think, nailed down. We're definitely hitting up the Super Tour again this year. As much as Jay might be out there listening, I haven't set my points money in yet, but it's coming. Don't worry. Checks in the proverbial mail. But we're going to start that off, which we should be the second weekend of May. We'll likely hit up actually the NHRA race at Cayuga, the National Open, to kind of start off the testing. We've got most stuff ready to go. Actually, the vet's pretty close. Got the stop set up on it again. We taken it off into last year for some testing purposes, and now we got to put back on to get some 990 set up off this new motor. New motor's going into the Mustang to try to kick it off and see if we can do some 1090 in it. So we're excited to do that. Ace races. There's pre-entry actually opens tomorrow for the second race. If anyone out there, so 12 o'clock noon. If you're looking to get into that second race in July, we've got into the first race in end of May, June. They're all kind of overlapping. A lot of racing in May now that I think about it. I better get my act together based on what I'm thinking here. But that's kind of our plans. The initial part, we're kind of up to about middle part of July, thereabouts with where we're at. Empire Dragway have got their 20K race on their schedule. Looking forward to it. Love Empire Dragway. If you haven't been there, or if you haven't been in a while, just a spectacular place to race. It was actually the first track we went to after COVID in the U.S. We went down for one of their Labor Day races. Wandered in, treated like gold, parked on some fantastic area. There isn't a bad spot in the place, and just what an awesome facility. So that's kind of the first bit of the schedule I can say is kind of nailed down, budgeted for, and barring anything cataclysmic, ready to rock and roll with. How about yourself? What are you thinking?
Right now, I'm just kind of pulling stuff out of the wind. I guess the staples for us always is the Super Tour events, right? They're so close to home for us, so we'll be hitting up the tour races. I think if all goes well, we will be joining you for the National Open series. So that's I've wanted to try the Super Comp stuff for a long time. Talked about it a lot. Now they're putting an event up and running a series. So if there's ever a time that I'm going to put an effort into it, don't even just try. This will be the year, right?
Yep.
The May long weekend at Cayuga, and then the 2 Naperville races is on the schedule for that, at least for now, and we'll kind of see where that leads. Other than that, kind of open. We have stuff wrote down. Luskville and Naperville very much they go back and forth each weekend, so there's an opportunity to race, kind of within 2 hours of the house every weekend of the summer. So you kind of, as much as I'd love to do that, I think this year we might not be able to hit every single one. It might get a little more exhausting with that third person we're carrying around now to the racetrack, but we'll make it work. I'd love to do some of Michael Beard's stuff, the Stage and Light events.
Yes.
The Keystone Raceway Series, one in Pittsburgh, should be really cool. So I haven't really gotten anything moving. Their first race is in about a month. So but it won't take very much to get my stuff all ready to go. We didn't do a whole lot this year. That was the plan with everything that was going on last year and the end of last year, right? We wanted to make sure there wasn't going to be, a mad dash for any crazy racing equipment that needed to be updated or anything like that. So my stuff's not too bad to get back together, and we'll see what happens, right? Who knows?
Oh yeah.
But lots of options. I'd love to, maybe some things swing my way and we make a little bit of money. Who knows? Maybe end up in the million, but that's kind of a, last decision. Andrew, while we talk about that, just to throw into a different conversation I've thought about, with the million being moved now up to September, do you like that or not?
I do. I've October racing is kind of one of those times of year, and I guess it depends because it's it's a little subjective, right, to how your season runs and when you look to put stuff away or get ready for the winter. But it was always a bit tough. I found, like, been to it once, and when I tried to plan for it, it just seemed like you were always looking at the forecast, waiting for that first bit of snow. September, the season doesn't feel way over. It's winding down, and it just seems like a perfect time to, if you've got an opportunity to head south to a big event. Like September's, unless you're chasing bracket finals type events, which that's a busy time of year for, there isn't a ton of big, medium or big money races in there typically, right? The Fling has kind of fell in around, I guess Bristol falls in there, but again, depending on where you're looking to go, right? If it's a single entry race, it's maybe not your cup of tea. I like it. I think there's more opportunity there. It's one of those events that I would look at much harder. It's still always been one of those events where I don't know if I always I don't put it on the schedule as I'm going to it. It's always one of those, if I'm doing well, like, not broke by the time September or late part of the year comes around because we've blown our brains out, but you're letting go good, you're making good decisions, and the cars are looking good. I think it kind of finds its way up, and that fact that it's in September just makes it that much more viable, right?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I like the idea of it. I think I loved when we went. I loved the October. It wasn't I don't want to say very cold, but it was very cool. You know what I'm saying? We were dancing on that line. You know, you could walk around in a t-shirt during the day, and then you had your hoodie on, and then or just kept a racing jacket or something on to stay warm at night. That whole feel for myself when I went, and then you just kind of left it all out there, right? That was the final race of the year. It was whatever, the 18th to the 20th of October, I believe. Yep. So that was like we had finished up everything here. Everything was done. You loaded up. This was the last kick at it. You know, you went, and that feel of racing I really liked.
Yep.
So I think I liked it more in October, but I can understand the factors are better for it in September. You have less weather to worry about. Obviously, rain's always a problem, but when you get to the cold, even in Alabama when it was there, now being in St. Louis or just outside of St. Louis, I guess, right? I'm not sure how much the October weather would factor there, but it seemed like it was awesome last year for it.
Well, I think in location, right? Like that's the big thing. The further south you go, the less chance, or less you have to worry about that weather factor, the sense of warmth, right? You're down in Alabama in October, you're still going to get 90-degree days, right? And still see probably 60, maybe even 70-degree evenings, depending on how the fronts come in. So the necessity to move it up in Missouri, even though that's still pretty mid and still pretty west and still pretty south, it still constitutes farther north that you need to look at that, right? And I have to admit it, the change up on it, like it was just felt fresh, right? So facility had never been to with a date that it, to my knowledge, I don't know if it's ever been a September race in any of its versions, right? So it had I think just a fresh take, and that was the part that I thought that was really cool, right? The flip to that being, there's still quite a bit of Southern, like I want to say it even moved it off some of those big Southern races, because you've got the Great American Bracket Race that they've got their 500K. Now, I think they're running one again this year.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I believe it's taken the original weekend for when the million normally was.
There you go.
And at Montgomery again, I believe.
Yeah. So when you start looking at things like that, like with the October date for the million and a lot of these other kind of late September, early October dates, it I think moves it around a bit better. That, you know, if you had to pick and choose which you know, I know the $500,000 isn't a million, but I mean it pays the same as what a lot of the $1 million races pay. It gives you some opportunity to kind of pick your poison a little bit, right? You want to not go as far. You've definitely got the OG million in St. Louis in September, and if you don't mind some window time to take a turn of phrase from our Western Canadian friends, you can head to Alabama Alabama and race in a $500,000 race. I think that works. The part that I find neat, just talking about big money races, is the amount of, there seems to be this growing gap of the middle ground races. Like there's big OG style million, 500,000 to win races, and then a plethora of 10s and 20s, which I have to admit, and maybe I'll take your take on this. I'm really liking, like I've had a chance to race in a few of these middle ground 50Ks and things like that, but the real bang for the buck value on 400 or 500 car events, these 20K ones are really kind of turning my crank, because the entry fee to payout ratio is, in the lines of being able to do a few of them, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I've circled a few of the promotions I've looked at this year and went like, these work. You can single, I think, at a really good price. You can double at a very reasonable price. I mean, even at the split, if you're taking home 12, 13, 14K, that's paying a lot of bills, US. I mean,
yeah,
that's 35% coming back this way when you exchange it back, right? So I'm really digging that style of race, right? Which, as you say, that's where your staging light events, right? At Pittsburgh, there are 20Ks. Empire's looking at like a 5, 20, 10 type format. Quaker City's got a bunch of 10Ks. So you can kind of see it's getting popular. In fact, to the point that you can almost hit the road every weekend if you've got the ability to drive. I'm thinking Southern Ontario, maybe more specifically here, right? But, not discounting Numidia and any of those grounds south of kind of middle Ontario, Eastern Ontario, Quebec. you can run for 10, 20K almost all the time, even including some of the events we have in Canada, right? The Super Tour being out east, the 660 races being out this way. There is a lot of money races now, right? Which starts to really cause some scheduling problems when you're looking at it.
Yeah, so it's funny you brought it up because that was exactly where I was headed next, was the middle ground races. And I say middle ground, right? Like as if 10 grand or 20 grand is not a huge deal, right?
Yeah.
But with the way the racing is today, that we are racing for $1 million or $500,000.
Yeah.
You know, at one point was 4 times a year, right? I want to say now we're 3, I guess, still 3 because I think should be 2 or 3. But either way, those middle ground races are popping up, and that's, as a bang for your buck for sure. And a lot of them are turning into a 250 car field, right? On the races capped at 400, and they've been sold out, and that's awesome. And I know certain, even when you book on top of each other within say 6 hours, both races can be successful with 250 to 300 cars.
Yeah,
and that's really the prime spot I find for racing the way that I like to race. And you and I've talked about that. That around that area of a size of field is perfect. And that staging like deal for a 10 20 10 is $400 for a single entry. Yes, American for sure, but still the deal is excellent.
Well, I mean, look at the price of the inflationary aspect of racing in Canada, right? I mean, there is a bit of a budget if you're looking to pick up some big money races here and there. I mean, the flip side of this is I think we're local racing's getting hit hard up here because of the inflationary aspect of it. Ontario is an expensive place to operate a business, right? All these racetracks are all businesses, so you can't if you go to an auto shop or you go anywhere else and you find it's up 10%. Racetracks have all felt that too, and they operate off of fast food retail type margins, very slim, right? So my biggest concern when you look at some of these things is that these are great deals in the US, and they've almost become more attractive than some of the local racing, depending on where you're from, right? Like the local, because it's, you can go to a race and spend $250 to race for 6, 7, 800, or you can spend $4 US and race for 4 days, right? And race actually 4 days. So, just something that had been mulled over and even talked about this past weekend while I was at the car show in Toronto was just, the cautionary tale that might be forming here of what we need to look at from a local standpoint and local racing and how these mid, payout, and again, subjective term, right? Like 20K is someone's $1 million race somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But, the fact that these are close by, there's more of them and whatnot, it, I think, adds a difficult selling point to the local stuff to stay close.
So I think that's an interesting point, and then I agree, but I disagree on the type of racer that you are, right? Whether yourself and myself, obviously, with doing this and everything else that we do, we're pretty hardcore into this, and that's not taking away from anybody else, but other racers, their $1 million is the local race.
Oh yeah,
right? So then that, to the same hand, it's all depends on where you are within the sport, whether that's a financial thing holding you back, whether you have other family things you do, right? There's a lot of racers that love, doing the cottage as well, and things like that. Not really a gig for us, right? My cottage is in the motorhome at the racetrack. But so that's an interesting point you bring it up with the local stuff. I know there's a lot of great local programs right now, and everybody's pushing real hard.
Yeah.
The thing that I want people to remember, because as you're 100% correct, the value a 10, 20, 10 race for $400 brings versus what you're going to spend going to the local track for whatever payout. I don't care what it is. If it's $1,000, $500, $2,500, maybe the value is not the same, right? The scale isn't the same, this, that, whatever. The value will never get better if you do not ever show up.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, that's also a tough kind of deal. And that's an issue that I kind of an internal issue I deal with myself because I want to go do everything else, but then I want to stay at home and support all the local races. But then I want to support every local event from coast to coast. You know what I'm saying? Like Rad Torque Raceway will put on an event. I'm like, man, like that's a great setup. I wish that I'd love to support that in some way. Or the RCSS puts on something like that, and I'm like, I want to support it so then they can continue to get better. But there's only so many. But then same deal. I want to go support the stage lane race, or I want to support an Ace event, or I want to support a fling, or I want to support the million. And I just want to go race. I just want to get every racetrack at the same time. So, but it's interesting, definitely the scale and the mentality of the racer for it. And then, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't really have like a big point on that, but that was.
No. But there's a lot of choice now. I mean, if you look at the NHRA conversation you had just a couple of weeks ago with Glenn, right? I had a chance to run into Glenn at the car show. Spent quite a few hours talking about just essentially everything you and him talked about on the show, but in more depth and the amount of choice now from a local standpoint, right? And I know the NHRA racing with the National Open Series. I mean, there's a bracket finals that was talked about at the show, but hasn't been talked about in deep either. Like there's a Canadian bracket final coming up here. There's a lot more choice if you're in that Eastern Canada, and I'll include our Eastern friends, right, in Atlantic, because the bracket finals is something that should be on their radar too, because it's at Napierville is
and
close
usually is there's right? Usually is a maritime showing at Napierville for the National Open races in general. So now, like you said, with the bracket finals deal added, as well as the point series added, like attendance is only going to get bigger for that event.
Well, that's it, and that's more weekends on the schedule, right? So like it's kind of funny as I look at the schedule and we talk about it. I mean, they say like you want to support a bunch of local stuff. There's a lot of local events I've had to look at and go like I'd like to be there, but I've made choices to where I want to chase stuff. But it is. If you just take the bracket life schedule that you've got on the website, right, and go up and down it, I mean, there is a ton of, we'll say overlapping races. Just there's a ton of races every weekend in areas that you can go to, and I can't speak to Western Canada as well by any stretch of the imagination, right? But it's much different than it was 10 years ago, which is awesome, right? Like it's
I think the big point to make, and this is up to everybody at their own discretion. Do what you can do, but just go racing. Support something is the idea, right? It's better than leaving a car sitting in the trailer or sitting at home somewhere or wherever. So as much as you can.
Grab the daily, hit street class, sportsman.
That's it.
I mean, I was surprised how many people I talked to that were, I think the inflation had hit them a little bit, budget had hit them a little bit, but they were still looking to hit the track with a streetcar and have some fun, right? Like, because there was opportunities to do that, right? And that was something that was a little different than years gone by. Normally, there's a lot of conversation about parking stuff, right? And what I heard from talking to people was that some equipment may be parked for some people, but they were still looking for avenues to get out and go do stuff because, again, the local scene was so strong with diversity of ability to go race, the Toyota Matrix was going to go get some hits taken on it, that sort of thing, right? So that was different than years gone by, I find too.
For sure. And vice versa for this whole conversation for tracks as well, right? As much as racers need to support them, tracks need to support the racers. Yeah. And if you can't offer, $1 million payout, which it is what it is, right? Racetracks can't do that. And racetracks need to make money. It is what it is, right? You need to satisfy your customers with the service that they are provided, with the racing quality of your venue, of your race track, of everything around it, and just allowing the racers to have fun, right? A lot of great family atmosphere that's around there, and that's when we talk about the type of racer that you are, because it is just as much fun to show up at a racetrack, be done at 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and have the evening to hang out with your friends, right? That's where racing is just camping with something to do during the day, if you want it to be, right?
Absolutely.
Like so that'd be good. Hopefully everybody tracks a successful 2024. there's not really a whole lot more. Oh, one more thing quick before we do sign off, because not a whole lot more to talk about for tonight. This Bracket Racing Elite, I don't know if everybody else has seen this. I just watched it before we got on here. So if you're not a part of this Bracket Racing Elite, that's fine. Andrew and I both are. I think it's a great asset, right? Costs a fair amount of money, is what it is. It's commitment that you put in, and then you're going to get, if you want to, you can get 100 times the value out of it for what you're going to put in for the cost of that for it. But this Bracket Racing Elite posted it today. I'm not sure where all it's actually going to be posted, but Peter Biondo is putting out a playbook. It's Peter Biondo's playbook coming out. I believe it's like 27 courses or 27 resources, whatever that may be. I don't know the full details of it yet, but I was watching that. That's coming out, available soon. Check that out. Google it. Go on this Bracket Racing on Facebook. Check that out. I can try and share the link when I do find it after the show. But some great resources coming in for maybe a different look at your 2024 season.
Yeah.
Before we get started. So if you wanted to dive into that and check it out, who better to listen to, than arguably the best to ever bracket race.
Well, and some interesting takes. I've had the opportunity to talk to a few racers who've taken some of his courses that he offered before, some of the fling races. 2022 is where a few of those were. And I've seen some of the materials, got my hands on I don't know if it's the playbook that's been coming out, but it's some of his course material. And if you follow any of the online, like if you've ever done the Schooled by Scotty, if you've ever done Elite with Luke and the Wild contingent, I mean, Luke has a lot of racers that on there, Justin Lamb to Chris Whitfield. Yeah, like there is a plethora of people there, but Peter's take on things is again different, and it's really neat to really be able to get into to see the inside look and how all these great racers approach it, and they're all fantastic. I mean, put them, shake them up in a hat and pull a name out. I mean, they're all so equal in my books, right, on their abilities, but how they approach the sport, how they approach the game of the tactics, everything else is wild to see and really interesting, right? So kind of I'm always been one of those people that's been interested in just learning as much as I can about every possible angle. And not that I'm anywhere near as good as I probably could be on some of these angles, but it's really neat. I think that'd be something else to add to the list to read and go through.
Absolutely. Just throwing it out there for everybody watching and that wanted to check it out. Cool resource, something to read up, watch up, whatever it is. I'm more than likely diving on that.
Yep.
Just like you said, kind of student of the game situation, right? You always got to be learning. There's always going to be somebody better. There's always a way to be better, and you can always be better. So,
well, in the audio, if it's an audio setup, I mean, if you're hitting in the truck, driving lots of hours, right? Grab the phone, hook it up to the system, and you can listen to a tutorial on the way to the racetrack, and hopefully through osmosis, at least you pick something up that makes you that much better for the next day, right? So
yeah, even if it just gets you excited. I just like listening. It just gets me excited to be at the racetrack, right? And get amped up for it. But that's about that, Andrew. Pretty well, that's episode 57, I guess. Right?
Yeah, we're so what next episode will be end of March. We're almost at April. We'll have a few more events down south, but we'll be awfully close to seeing some Canadian events start to kick off. So if you don't have a car running by then, it'll be awfully close too, right? So
at least hopefully.
That's it. I've had all the race fumes I can take on the dyno this past weekend for the first time we had it running. So I kind of got the blood, pumping. But usually April is when we start getting stuff running. So that's, exciting. I
like it. Absolutely. But all right, guys. Well, thank you guys for all hanging in for tonight. And we'll see you all again in 2 weeks, getting ready. I'm excited. I'm kind of, I don't know. Just kind of lost for it. I just want to go racing. That's about all I got for you.
That's the thing.
That's what I got. But all right, thank you guys. Thanks always, Auto and Fleet Service, supporting the show. Everybody else who checks all out. Oh yeah, Pro One Safety. Still got time. Still got time to get your belts if you do need some. Check that out. We'll see us all in 2 weeks. Some more results. Hopefully some Canadian winners. Where I don't care. Let's just have some Canadian people win.
That's it. With a topic to be determined, but we'll figure it out.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Always come up with something, right? Talking about racing's easy.
That's it.
Right? For sure. All right. Thank you guys very much. We'll talk to you all again in 2 weeks.
Have a great night.
Business over 35 years ago. A lot has changed over the years, but one thing still remains the same.
Our passion for fixing cars. With a team of over 12 men and women, they work day in and day out to provide us the best quality service possible.
From light and heavy duty vehicle repairs and maintenance work.
Diagnostics and racing transmissions.
Performance parts and Jeep upgrades.
Automotive detailing.
used car sales,
and towing through our sister company, AC Towing.
Our team has the knowledge and understanding to solve all your vehicle needs while putting your mind at ease.
Experience the Ogilvy difference.
It's worth the drive.